Sacrum. In humans, the sacrum is a large triangular bone at the base of the spine and at the upper and back part of the pelvic cavity, where it is inserted like a wedge between the two hip bones. Its upper part connects with the last lumbar vertebra and bottom part with the coccyx. It consists of usually 5 initially unfused vertebrae, which begin to fuse between ages 16 to 18 and are usually completely fused into a single bone by age 34.
At the same time. Remember, the sacrum was made originally from 5 different vertebral bones that fused to form one sacrum. And we really still have the bodies of the vertebra, and we still have the transverse processes of the vertebra. Those transverse processes just are very large, and they have fused together to form what we call the ala, or the wing of the sacrum. Remember, between adjacent vertebrae, we had an opening called an intervertebral foramen.
Structure. It is curved upon itself and placed obliquely, that is, tilted forward. It is kyphotic, that is, concave facing forward. The base projects up forward as the sacral promontory internally and articulates with the last lumbar vertebra to form the prominent sacrovertebral angle. The central part is curved outward toward the posterior, allowing greater room for the pelvic cavity. The two lateral projections of the sacrum are called ala, or wings, and articulate with the ilium at the L-shaped sacroiliac joints.
In humans, the sacrum is a large triangular bone placed here. It creates the upper back part of the pelvic cavity. This is the pelvic cavity and this is the upper back part. It has a connection with 2 hip bones here, the coccygeal bone down there, and the lumbar vertebra here. This is the intervertebral disc. It consists of usually 5 initially unfused vertebrae, which begin to fuse between age 16 and 18, and they are usually completely fused into a single bone by the age of 34. It is concave bone facing forward, as you can see it here. The lateral projections of this bone are called wings. And this part here is the articulating surface that articulates with the ilium, the hip bone. It is L-shaped articulating surface. Here is the articulating surface for the vertebra. The pelvic surface of the sacrum is concave from above downward and slightly from side to side. The dorsal side of the sacrum is smaller and it's also convex. The lateral surface is also broad up here, but very narrow down there. The base of the sacrum is down here. If we remove the coccygeal bone, you would be able to see it here. Unfortunately, this model is not very good. And basically,
Etymology. The name is derived from the Latin sacrum, a translation of the Greek hieron osteon, meaning sacred or strong bone. It is called so either because supposedly sacrum was the part of an animal offered in sacrifice, or because of the belief that the soul of the human man resides there. Parts. The pelvic surface of the sacrum is concave from above downward and slightly so from side to side. The dorsal surface is convex and narrower than the pelvic. The lateral surface is broad above but narrowed into a thin edge below. The base of the sacrum, which is broad and expanded, is directed upward and forward. The apex is directed downward and presents an oval facet for articulation with the coccyx. The vertebral canal runs through the greater part of the bone. Above, it is triangular in form. Below, its posterior wall is incomplete. It lodges the sacral nerves, and its walls are perforated by the anterior and posterior sacral foramina, through which these nerves pass out. Articulations. As we've seen in the videos, the sacrum articulates with 4 bones. the last lumbar vertebra above, the coccyx or tailbone below, and the ilium portion of the hip bone on either side. Sexual dimorphism. The sacrum is noticeable sexually dimorphic, which is differently shaped in males and females. In the female, the sacrum is shorter and wider than in the male. The lower half forms a greater angle with the upper. The upper half is nearly straight, the lower half presenting the greatest amount of curvature. The bone is also directed more obliquely backward. This increases the size of the pelvic cavity and renders the sacrovertebral angle more prominent. In the male, the curvature is more evenly distributed over the whole length of the bone and is altogether larger than in the female. Diagnosis. Sacral diagnosis is a common issue in osteopathic manipulative medicine. There are many types of sacral diagnosis, such as torsion and shear. To diagnose a sacral torsion, the axis of rotation is found with the axis named after its superior pole. If the opposite side of the pole is rotated anteriorly, it is rotated towards the pole, in which case it is called either a right-on-right or a left-on-left torsion. The first letter in the diagnosis pertains to the direction of rotation of the superior portion of the sacrum, opposite the side of the superior axis pole, and the last letter pertains to the pole.
And you have your right and left upper poles of the sacrum. In here, where L5 would be situated, is the sacrosulcus. Quite often, what we can find is that things happen around these diagonal axes. What can possibly happen is what is called a left on a left. What this refers to is the anterior side of this upper pole is pointing to the left, being held back on a left diagonal axis.